First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for joining today. So great to be here, and I hope you all are ready to light leap. So, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Rohan Polkam. I'm a solutions engineer here at N2N Services. Been with N2N for almost 2 years, and I will be the moderator for today's webinar today. So, if you have any questions in the chat box or would like to, ask a question, then I will address those to Kiran and the team so they can be addressed. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce the man of the hour, the very own N2N Services founder and CEO, Kiran Kodithala.
All right. So first of all, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate you all giving us your 1 hour of your time, and we certainly hope that we will make the most out of it. Because I think the reason why this is so exciting is because everybody is talking about AI. Over the last 1.5 years, there's been discussion about how AI will revolutionize healthcare by using advanced detection mechanisms that we thought were impossible for identifying somebody, whether they have cancer or headache or anything else. There's obviously a lot of discussion about how AI will transform the automobile industry, where the self-driving car will be on steroids as a result of AI. Or there's also a discussion about even agriculture, where it will do things about identifying the right places where to put fertilizers in, everything from identifying the right places to put fertilizers in, or identifying weeds, or obviously fixing the crops themselves. However, we are all here because we care about education, and we've been experimenting with how AI can truly change education itself, and that's why we're all here. So, speaking of education, what exactly do we mean when we say, AI will, transform education, right? Because ultimately, institutions are here to help students graduate faster. And administrators, we want to make sure that administrators or advisors will be able to help students advise better. And most importantly, university presidents can ultimately know whether the campus is efficient and ultimately do everything to change the world itself. With N2N, over the last 15 years, if you guys don't know who we are a 13-year-old organization. I personally have done 25 years of work just in higher education, everything from implementing student information systems and integrating student information systems, and ultimately supporting SIS integration. Over the years, we initially started with this idea of connecting anything to anything. That's our motto. And we wanted to connect, whether it's a SaaS product or a mobile application or any other product, and connect it to anything. And as we dug into that idea, we started realizing that the only way we can connect anything to anything is by using APIs. So we transitioned that to connect anything to APIs. And because of all these APIs we've created, we realized that now we can truly deliver on the promise of connecting anything to AI, and that led us to LightleapAI. So LightleapAI is our first offering that is specifically designed for higher education to bring into focus the 3 main things that N2N has invested in all our life in. One is data integration. How do we integrate data so that it is actually possible to integrate all these different systems and connect them with AI? Second is security. We are a SOC 2 level 2 organization. Our CISO, Joel, is on the call, and Chad is on the call, where we have invested a lot of energy into not only integrating the data, but also keeping it secure so that our institutions and institutional partners can be most successful with it. And third is, how do we take this data integration and data security and bring it to focus with AI so that institutions can have a private, secure artificial intelligence environment as a result of LightleapAI? So that was the idea behind LightleapAI, and we are excited to show you what we have done today. We certainly don't want to take all the time on this call to just do the demo. We want to hear from you on different thoughts and dig deeper as well. So what is LightleapAI? Ultimately, LightleapAI is a platform that we built we started off as a way to build a interactive chat like interface for higher education. And eventually we started thinking this can help us move higher education forward so that we can solve systemic problems for the student. And what are the systemic problems that for the student? Ultimately, the problems we see, we all have students in college, or we went to college at one point. Students have to go through complex websites every time they want to find something, whether it is finding a book for a course, or registering for a class, or finding parking, or joining a fraternity. They have to go through complex websites. And for the most part, institutions, students are more comfortable going to Google and searching for something, now ChatGPT probably, searching for something rather than going to the campus website and clicking through those links. Second is, how do I find the right resource and right information in things like student self-service portal, which has been designed in a in 2000 era, between 1980s and 2000, where there's a lot of click-throughs, there's a lot of clicking buttons and stuff like that. But if we just did that, it would only be scratching the surface. So as we started solving those problems, we realized that there is a bigger problem to solve, which is making higher education itself truly interconnected through the power of AI and through the power of simplicity that ChatGPT and other systems offer. So, I can speak for hours together about generative AI and NLP and LLMs and stuff like that, but that won't make that won't make all your time worth it. So I'm going to jump straight into the demo so that you can see what we have done with LightleapAI, and then hopefully you can ask some questions as well. So give me a second. Okay, so we'll start with something basic. Like we talked about our university. There's a chat question here. Oh, all right. So let's start with the simple thing about a campus website. So one of the issues that campuses have is they're too complicated, too sitemap heavy. People have to go from this page to that page and that page to this page. And like I said, this is why things like Google and others are being used more commonly than anything else. So with one of the first thing that we've done with LightleapAI is that we have created as we talked about, this is not ChatGPT. This is not just connected to a standard chat interface. Once you connect your LightleapAI to your campus system, you can configure it to specific things like setting up your locale. That means that, let's say you're at Puerto Lianza College, when a student comes in and says, where can I find parking? It automatically knows that you're asking about where can I find parking in Puerto Lianza College. Or if you're Ivy Tech and if your competitor is, I don't know, University of Notre Dame, if a student comes to LightleapAI's system and asks questions about University of Notre Dame, it will immediately say the system is not designed to answer this question, or it is designed to answer questions about Ivy Tech. But the key thing that the system is doing is a couple of things. For example, this is your standard chat interface that is connected to LightleapAI, but I'm going to quickly ask questions. I can ask questions like, where is Georgia Tech? Type properly. And it obviously, just like a question answer system, it will answer this. How do I find parking there? So again, because I asked the question about Georgia Tech, now LightleapAI is answering questions and is saying that now it already knows that I am talking about Georgia Tech as a campus. And I can ask any questions related to that. But with LightleapAI, when you connect your system with LightleapAI and when you train it, you don't have to say, I want to go to Georgia Tech. When you ask questions like, what is the acceptance rate for this campus? And it will answer this question. because now we have set the context at the university, and this context is allowing us to make sure that it is answering questions related to that. Again, this is a private GPT model. As part of Lightleap, we will set up your own private AI tenant that will answer questions based on your campus. You can train it, you can configure it, and you can customize it. And in addition to that, a standard mobile application interface is responsive, but it will also allow you to, it will set up some breadcrumbs for the public-facing page where it will start building out this breadcrumb saying, it looks like the student is asking a lot of questions about acceptance or admissions or financial aid. Let me present other similar questions related to that. While all of this is exciting, my son, who's a sophomore in Georgia Tech, can do this fairly easily. What we wanted to do as part of Illuminate and our Lightleap system is to go beyond just answering, for lack of a better term, dumb questions. We wanted to basically say, instead of student coming in and saying, I want to go to Georgia Tech, I want to go to School of Business, what if we connect the system in such a way that it will be presented with this data, the student data, learning data, course data, and it will answer the questions without anybody setting the context. So that gets us to our secure login experience. So I'm going to log in as John Doe here. And let's slightly forward. And this is our secure experience. Sorry, it's a dummy password. What we have here is a secure environment where when a student logs in, it will now call the different APIs end-to-end has built over the years that will get the student admissions profile information, the courses that they've enrolled in, the degree program that they've signed up for, their graduation date, and any related information that will set the context in the system. And this is a big leap for AI, where we are moving from a public AI like ChatGPT or Bard to a private AI where this AI information that is only connected to your tenant, whether it's Foothills or Ivy Tech or any other institution, state college. So this private AI tenant is fed with this information. So when a student logs in, it will pull the transcript, pull the courses they're enrolled in, pull their admissions data so that it can answer questions like, what courses can I take this semester? So this is a pretty, this might look similar because this is similar to your degree audit type system, where all this has done is taken all the courses that the student has already enrolled in and also mapped it out with the courses that they should take for their CS, for their major, and said, these are the completed courses and these are the upcoming courses. Again, people who are familiar with degree audit or other systems, they'll be like, well, I can do this myself. I don't need AI to tell them. There's two parts to this. Yes, it is true that you have to do with degree audit. You can do this with degree audit, but with the way AI works, we almost can do this without building any backend rules with degree audit. You can literally upload a transcript and degree requirements in a catalog or PDF format, it can build it for you. And it can also do it in such a way that based on the CS major that the major that the student is in, it can overlap this data with other students and come up with a pattern and says, all the students similar to this are taking these courses, so we can recommend those things like that. But regardless, this is not much different from your degree audit platform, if you will. So how do we Lightleap forward, right? How do we take advantage of AI for what is designed? And that got us thinking, saying, what if a student, students want more than just to know what courses they can take. They want to know which courses they can get an A in. So let's see that. So now when a student says, I want you to recommend the courses that I can register to, where I can get a maximum chance of best grade in, this is a more complicated algorithm. It'll obviously get the list of courses the student is already enrolled in, list of courses the student should take, and look at the pattern of grading on those courses over the last X years or 3 years, And based on that, it came up with a model saying, these are the 3 courses you can take. And this is where we truly lightly forward, if you will, from a student experience, where we're no longer, doing analysis on a traditional student information system model, but we're giving a data that's a composite of the student data, academic history data, the course data, and what else. But this is where we even start moving past ChatGPT with Lightleap, where because Illuminate and End2End has built APIs over the years, we now have ability to actually do something about it. With standard AI or chat generative AI interface, if you ask for what hotel rooms to take to reserve or to book in Paris, you're only presented with list of hotel names. You can reserve a room there. But with Lightleap, we can actually register for the courses, and the system will run through, call End2End's APIs, and register them. And because, again, just for testing purposes, we let the course be like this, but in a standard AI interface won't even, recommend a course that requires prereq. But because there was a prereq failure, it recommended another course, and I can register for that as well. So that's kind of the idea behind moving out of a generative AI information model to a large action model that we are taught. That's a new term, where we are no longer just recommending things, but we can also act upon them. And that's why intelligent automation piece is pretty significant here. I'm going to take a pause here to see if there's any questions or any comments, and then we'll drill in
We did have
a
2
couple
questions.
other student learning features.
Okay, so we did have 2 questions in the chat. One from Alex saying, "What are you doing to avoid hallucinations?" And one by Claire asking, "What is the foundation model you are using behind the scene?" Okay,
so our foundation model is NLP. We are using NLP. We have Tim Savage here, who's the enterprise architect for Lightleap. And Tim, if you want to jump in and talk a little bit about different models we're using, you can jump into that. Let's start there.
Sure. So actually, we're using several. So there's going to be the GPT Neo X will be the main NLP model that we're going with, and then there's several others that we're going with for speed. And it's kind of hard without the full architecture diagram up, but for name entity recognition, we're going to use BERT and BERT summary for basically speeding up the interface and making sure the responses are short versus what we usually get with like a ChatGPT style interface.
Yeah. So regarding hallucination controls, I think that's a great question. So for people who are not living and breathing in AI, this is a loaded term. So where the way AI works is, there's multiple ways it learns, right? There's supervised learning, there's unsupervised learning, and machine learning, and there's the whole science behind it. But it learns and it makes decisions. That's the ultimate part of it. Like the whole part of AI is it's an ability to learn based on things we offer as a standard, what we call as a standard data science, but we also what we don't offer as part of what's called an unsupervised learning, where you can, in theory, put things like hair color, shoe size, degree code, what they ate for breakfast, and make it analyze things, and it will analyze it. That doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't mean it's true. That doesn't mean it's going to be accurate, but it will analyze it and it'll say, based on this is what it will do. So, like any other any statistic, the only way to protect ourselves from it making stupid decisions or haywire decisions is to properly train it and properly evaluate the outcomes. So there's a couple of things that we're working with our beta partners on. One is obviously train it to a point where we can certify them and test it thoroughly before we put it in hands of students, faculty, or anybody else for that matter. And second, is to also start doing what's called a backward compatibility analysis, where we run this simulation by taking a set of students that have graduated 2 years ago, 5 years ago, or graduated last year, and compare the correlation coefficient on how the results compare to the reality and do some analysis. And there's also, because it is a private AI environment where we are not obligated to create a environment for all higher education, institutions also have ability to set better controls, better configurations, and better customizations as well. Alex, I hope that makes sense. Right. There's a couple of things I wanted to kind of drill down into as well with respect to the demo. So I'm going to dig deeper here. Just 1 second. Oh. All right. So, this is a standard. Again, with the AI, especially AI, when you add it to the data integration layer, it opens up some remarkable opportunities because of where end-to-end sits in this mix between a AI technology, a data integration technology, and a secure data interchange layer that we offer end-to-end. And we can go on and on about all the other features. For example, students can just say, how can I pay my bills, or how can I sign up for payment plans, or I don't know, where do I find my graduation information? All the standard publicly available information. You all know this. We NLP can pull this. So the way LightLeap works is we have 2 environments. One is a shared tenant, which is the standard environment, very similar to Bard and ChatGPT, that calls the publicly available information, which is internet itself, and presents the answer. The second is a private AI that is built on institutions' data, and the institution's data acts as the data source to make those decisions. But we also, because we are now connecting to student information system, learning management system, and the private and public AI, we can do some interesting things as a result of it. So we started thinking, like, how can this be a standalone, like we're talking about, make it your website replacement or self-service edition, or it can be an integration into the learning management system itself. So let's take this as an example from a student experience. So, let's say a student is here, you all, I don't know about you guys, but, everybody universally agrees that Shakespeare sonnets are the hardest to understand. So let's assume that this is the lesson for the student, where a student is now trying to understand the sonnet. And, in a typical institution, the student has to set up a time with an instructor, contact the teaching assistant to ask a question. But with LightLeap, there you can integrate this as a plugin to the LMS, and the student can say, can you explain Sonnet 18 to me? So I can just ask question like that, just like you would ask a faculty member or teaching assistant or any other resource. You're using this as a resource. And one of the cool things that we can do as part of the system is, because it is private, you can set the context so that when a student asks this question in a Shakespeare sonnet box or environment area, it is only answering question related to that context. The student can go in here and ask questions about, I don't know, math or physics or something. In this LMS contained environment, you're setting the context, saying, only answer questions related to this. It does two things for you. One is obviously it protects the student from getting distracted by other things, and also gives an instructor some more flexibility so that the instructor can actually influence the data that is returning back. For example, institution can say, before you search World Wide Web for information, look at our LMS data or our learning content data, and then answer the question about anything related to learning data. So that gives institutions the institutional autonomy that they take so much pride in, and also allow them to secure the content. And again, I think this is a way where AI can truly help not only administrative things like how do I find the best course possible, but from a learning perspective also, so that the student can learn better. So, I can go on and on about different examples of learning content, but, this is another example. The professor has posted a complex question, and, the student doesn't forgot what mean value theorem is. So I'm just going to copy paste and say, what is mean value theorem, and I can just ask LightLeap. And again, the LightLeap can answer this question by using the internal repository of the learning content, or it can answer the question by searching World Wide Web. And because of that flexibility, it opens up so much opportunity for students to self-learn better, learn better, grow better, and evolve better. And most importantly, helps them from having to stand in line or wait in corridors or whatever, but use this as a tool to self-learn in the classroom. So opportunities are endless when you start integrating that, right? So think of LightLeap as not just a standalone solution. It can be a standalone solution for sure, but it can also be an embedded iframe where you can integrate it into your learning management system, CRM system, or self-service itself, so that there's a constant way to integrate this data. But it's not just connected to the World Wide Web. It is connected to your private AI first, and after that, it calls the World Wide Web data, but you have all sorts of controls to prevent it from answering questions that you don't want it to answer. And that's why this is a very important distinction here that I keep going back and again and again into. So I'm going to take a pause here because there's a couple other non-student experiences that we are playing around with. I wanted to kind of give a couple of minutes there for those as well. But before I jump into that, I want to see if there's any additional questions from the audience about student experience and the learning experience as well. Rohan, do we have any questions?
None in the chat box so far.
Okay. Are you guys ready for the next quiz? So Chirag
Kiran,
said,
I think one question just
one
question just came in on the chat.
Yeah, I think that's Chirag has a very important question, which is, can you allow instructors to create custom knowledge bases for LightLeap to reference each individual course? I think the way I'm thinking, the way we are currently considering LightLeap, the way LightLeap works is that you don't need to create new custom knowledge base to allow LightLeap to answer some of these questions. I think we are thinking of the course content itself as the primary source of data. So it's all based on hierarchy, right? So LightLeap will first read the internal course configuration and get the information from there. If you're connected to other sources, sure, why not? But the idea here is start with the private. So think of it like a search path. So each page, based on where you invoke LightLeap, will have a separate search path, and the search path will allow the LightLeap to say, for this search, look at Math 101 course content, and then look at LMS, I don't know, bookstore content, or learning content, or SCORMs, or whatever, and then look at World Wide Web. So, and then institutions can set kind of a weight on where to do it. And sometimes institutions can say, don't even look at World Wide Web, just answer questions only if it exists within the learning management system. And that's okay. That's where I think the private AI concept really comes to bear, because institutions truly value and take pride in their institutional autonomy and the effort they put into their course content. We want to give them that control. But there might be institutions like ASU or Western Governors where they don't care. They were like, well, I want them to get the best information possible, whether it is from World Wide Web or my internal sources, I don't care. Then NLP will just automatically grade the results based on the information that is being asked for. Okay, again, I have a couple more workflows that I want to show you guys, but if you guys have any questions, we can take them now. All right, so let's jump into a couple other experiences, and I want to show you what the power of Gen AI looks like for if it's an advisor, if you will. So if you're an advisor, you're logged in, you're constantly trying to look for opportunities to help the advisees learn better, learn faster, grow better, and identify the problems. Traditionally, the early alert systems like your EAB or, I don't want to name names, but, traditional early alert systems are truly late alerts. They are using very raw data like your midterm grades, your final grades, and some basic information and coming up with the analytics and presenting it. However, when we look at a student's risk topology, the student can be at risk because of many reasons. They can have a personal problem, where that is preventing them from learning better. They can have a physical problem that might be preventing them from learning better. It might show up in how they behave in the in their dorm, or they might have a issue with their car that is showing up in their parking office, or they might get a citation from the police station that's preventing them from learning, or obviously basic things like your assignment is late, or you're not logged into Canvas. So all of this is important because all of these are different data points set up in different systems. So and traditional early alert systems with a double code have not looked at all the data sources, because it's like, well, who has time to do all that, right? Who has time to pull all that information, who has time to run the analysis, who has time to understand all the correlation coefficients and variance analysis and predictions, because it's too much work. But with AI, it's like nothing. You can present the data like I talked about, and you can literally connect it to your learning management system, obviously with some training, your parking system, your housing system, the cafeteria system. I think this is where Alex's question is very relevant. It will give you answers, but you just need to train it and evaluate the data. But the answers can be just like this: student did not log into Canvas last few weeks, or student failed to submit their assignment for one of their classes, or they had a residential hall behavior warning at one of the residential hall, or they had an attendance issue. All of them are coming from multiple different data sources. And these data sources can be connected to LightleapAI because we have a strong integration platform. We can present it to AI system. Obviously, it requires some training to make sure it is looking at the right outcomes and the right inputs. But with some proper training, it can analyze this data and start predicting things or identifying risks that we never thought were possible because of the way supervised and unsupervised learning works. So again, what supervised learning is our traditional statistics, where we say, these 5 or 15 indicators are potential indicators. So try to identify patterns between these established inputs and obviously the output. Unsupervised learning is you give it hundreds of inputs or thousands of inputs, and it will automatically identify the connections based on the general information that LLM already knows. LLM is already understands things like grades or quality points or courses or students, and majors and minors. That's part of the standard learning model. You don't even need to explain it what a college is or major is. It is very much self-aware in that level of information. So advisors can use it for a lot of things. Obviously, like Chirag said, their advisors or faculty members can also use it to build their lesson plans, create new assignments, or make sure that each student gets a completely new. They can literally go to the system and say, I have 50 students. I want to create 50 unique problems for each of the student for this question, and it will generate them for you. There's so much it can do because NLP is capable. NLP is absolutely capable of building learning content, generating assignments, grading assignments if you allow it to do it, which we are not recommending because we don't want to get in trouble with instructors. But it is 100% capable of doing that. In addition to this, it can also do things like run analytics. So, for example, I want to definitely leave some time for architecture and details, but from a chancellor's perspective, if a chancellor, once a chancellor sets what they mean by performance standards, it can run analytics across all the colleges and say, this is the these are the number of at-risk students by campus, and it can drill down. And again, this is where things like DALL-E or the chart automatic visual tools in AI are so amazing, is that I can literally give it, a spreadsheet with 100,000 rows, and it can run analytics on it. It can generate these beautiful graphs. It can identify anomaly detection, predictive analytics, and identify patterns that we never thought were possible without using any other additional data scientists, because the standard ideas of statistics and data sciences are embedded in a typical AI model. So when we talk about Lightleap, and this is where it gets interesting, is that once you connect it to different systems, it can do many things. It can be your plugin to your website or replacement to your website if that's what you want to do. It can be a plugin to your mobile application or replacement to your mobile application. It can be the front end to your self-service. It can be a way for you to create beautiful graphs. It can be your early alert system. It can be course management system as well. And ultimately, that's what makes Lightleap so exciting and promising for institutions as they start evaluating how they can use it in their institution. So I'm going to take a pause here to see if there's any questions you have, and then we'll drill into a couple other logistical things also. Looks like there's one.
Yep, we have one from Shen. Which areas of improvement does Lightleap propose to deploy and focus on in an educational institution? There are many sources of truth and embedded knowledge, like to know the different factors between public and private AI and your learning model of private AI.
Yeah, so there's let me kind of I think that's a great question, and that's a great segue into the architecture
We
as
also had
well.
one before that as well that I'm seeing
Okay.
from Alex. So I think you might have already touched a little bit on it. He's saying, aside from high quality prompt engineering and configuring a RAG model, what differentiates your offering from something like ChatGPT?
Sure. Tim, you want to take that? All right, I don't mind taking it.
Yeah, I got it. So, I mean, the ChatGPT model, obviously, you can log in and you can get some live data, but having a RAG model on top of the private data, you could go from just knowing what course you need to register for to having the system be able to check if that course is even available, or from an institution level to see if, based on who's registering, take it the next step and see, do we need to add more computer science 101 because the demand is higher. So you get into a lot of other things with AI, not only from the user level, but from the faculty and administration level, that will extend this beyond what you could get with just a standard chat GPT. And even the chat GPT models, as they stand, like if everyone were on 3.5, you're dealing with older data versus, if you have a paid subscription, obviously you have live web data or fairly live web data. And basically everyone would, in the sense as it pertains to the school, would have a chat GPT 4.0 model, because they would have all the answers they need for the specific institution that they're attending.
Yeah. I mean, Alex, I think I'm not even sure if it's even possible to, unless your idea is to, or not your idea, unless an institution takes it upon themselves and dumps, their student data, which into ChatGPT or any other system, which I cannot imagine anybody doing it. How does ChatGPT know things? Once LightleapAI is connected, you can be able to converse with it in the language of the institution. You can say, I want to create a new section like CRN number this. I want to create whatever. You can interface with it in the language of your SIS data, because it is connected to your student information system. So that's the big difference. I mean, ChatGPT will be able to consume all the public information that is posted online, but it won't be able to transcend and connect to your secure databases that are behind the firewall, which you don't want it to. Because with ChatGPT, you don't have the control to be able to protect it from going outside of your institution. With LightleapAI, all your data will stay in your private tenant, and this is the idea. So, and the way LightleapAI works is, this is our model, and LLMs will stay here. You can connect your database, and it will be existing as a data lake environment. You can connect, you can upload any documents that you want to make it as a data source for it. This can include your, catalogs. It can include your transcripts, whatever information, or you can connect it directly with API as well. And this is how I think, Chin, this answers your question about how to prepare your institution for a private-public environment. So again, the private part of public part of LightleapAI, we have not even shown here, because it's just connecting to the standard www data. Again, we don't use ChatGPT in LightleapAI. We have our own private tenant that will be our shared tenant. That will be our ChatGPT-like environment for LightleapAI, but it has the same training data. It has the same models or more models, because AWS Bedrock offers all the models that are available in ChatGPT and then some. But Chin, to answer your question, your databases, here's your student data, learning data, like your LMS systems, ancillary systems, all of them exist behind your firewall, and Illuminate connects them, and we will create a ODS-like structure or in your private tenant. But this is like ODS because we have to apply transformation and translation so that it's easy for AWS AI to be able to consume this. So what we mean by that is, if you look at Banner system or any other student system, each student will have X number of rows for courses, right? And then there's a relationality between student ID, CRN number, term code, and all the other underlying tables and subtables and all the relation, which you don't want to bother AI with, because that'll be too much work to make it understand all those relationships. While you can build them, we don't want to create that level of customization. What we are doing instead is, summarizing the data and consolidating the data in such a way that it's a flattened out version. So in this example, there'll be one row for student, whether they have 15 courses they've registered to or 100 courses they're registered to or 100 courses they've completed. And this one row will allow AI to be able to look at this data and make analysis. So that's why the persistence layer will come in. There'll also be an S3 bucket that will store any your custom data or custom files. It can be PDF documents, it can be images, it can be any tagged objects that you want to present to AI to make decisions. And that S3 bucket will sit in. And the NLP, like Tim talked about, there's multiple models that we're using. And we'll be happy to geek out and give you all the details you need on SageMaker that we're using. But ultimately, each institution will have their own private AI tenant that includes their LLM that is being trained on their data, their NLP. That's a standard NLP, but that's something we can customize, configure, and enhance for each institution, and the data lake. So you can connect this environment to directly to your banner system or whatever, or if you have it ODS-like environment, whether it's Snowflake or others, we can connect to Snowflake as well. That obviously makes our life easier. But ultimately, because we have deep connections with the LMS systems, SIS products, and CRMs, it will make it easy for us to do this connection. Chin, I hope this answers your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think you've given me some ideas. I'm thinking of more of from a deployment point of view. If I want to deploy your model, what exactly the current challenge I have in the institution I can use your model to address? For example, the presentation level. If I'm talking about just arrange the data into the data lake, maybe slow flag and flatten the database. And in the past, we probably have to write a report, do the self-service, or even push the data, right? So that's one specific area I think probably not need a lot of effort. We can probably achieve some immediate benefit. The other I think is challenging that I'm thinking of more in a systematical way is there are regulatory requirements, there are rules and database and let's say ERP, rules, and all this are changing in a certain way. For example, we can deal with that. It used to be a student can take a certain course paths and or community can come to our college, take a certain class for their leisure or for their pleasure, right? But some of the regulatory requirement change, say, well, you no longer can go this path, you have to go this path, and you're going to graduate within 2 years. So that's, for example, those kind of things coming to us all the time. And then we have to redefine the rule within the system, and this rule engage something we have to do within our ERP system. Some of this ERP vendor have to customize to the new regulation. So those kind of thing, if you ask a student, say, today you want to take a path forward, like your degree audit or something like that, you ask us to say, what is the best path forward? The answer, the best I can provide is, it depends, right? It depends on what the regulation right now we're under and what is your forward path and the prerequisite and all those requirements you fulfill or not. So those are kind of a deeper layer of, if we want to do a private AI, I'm interested to see how you're going to handle this part of the private AI, because that part, I think, if I looking forward in a deployment sense, you have to generate some kind of confidence and some kind of a realistic data if you want to touch that part. that part to me is more knowledge base, more of a cognitive function of all this current operation we operate under. So that is another area. The last area I can think of is, a lot of people is going to ask questions, say, what is your performance of the past 3 years in terms of enrollment, in terms of, students' participation in certain class, what is the success rate and failure rate? We have done a lot of work in the past, and it has to go through some kind of data manipulation and presentation layer and handle this type of query in the self-service. If you want to get into that area, what's your private AI model is going to be tailored to each individual institution of their data analytic or reporting requirement. Those are the big. I know I'm touching just the elephant portion of the elephant, but I can think from my area of responsibility. I can think if I want to deploy your solution, I like to see how you're going to handle all this different area with your private AI learning model. Can we do that and then define the rule? Who is defining this learning rules? Are you guys going to do it, or we're going to train the model, train the trainer, so to speak, the model to learn this? And also, what is the role of our current vendor play into this learning model? So all this, sorry, a lot of questions for you, but
no, I think those are very relevant questions, and I think number one, from who does the loading and training, and obviously loading and training, N2N will definitely be doing that for you. So we will map it out and do the training of the data. But obviously, like you talked about with regulation and oversight and institutional research type data, that's where institutions have to do a lot of testing before it is put in the hands of any, especially with regulatory making. But I think more and more, AI will be more of a, at least initially, more of a supporting role for the first couple of years, whether it is a supporting role for institutional research, where instead of taking 6 months to generate this report, they're taking, 3 weeks to generate it, but then they have to customize it or configure it to make it final. So the idea here is not to replace some of these functions right away, but I can't imagine a scenario where 2 years from now, after we build enough fidelity and confidence in the reports it's generating, that you might be able to say, maybe this function can be repurposed to something else. But that's a decision that outside of my pay grade. What we do see are the low-hanging fruits, finding the course to register, or allowing them to allowing them to connect to the right resources to learn better, allowing them to be able to pay their bills faster, or allowing you to find out if there's a cheaper alternative to something you're purchasing. All of those are pretty low-hanging fruits, and I think we can tackle those without the thorny issues of regulation. But ultimately, when it comes to regulation, just like your self-driving car, the car can drive as much as it wants, but human has to take ownership of the results. I think we are kind of getting close to the top of the hour. Again, Chen summarized it better. What we have is an integrated AI that is secure, but it's also customizable as well. And we are definitely looking for, beta partners right now. Chen has already alluded to the fact that we are active discussion with Fortilienza and Ivy Tech as well. And again, in the beta program, we are kind of doing this hands-on training effort where we're training the models, testing them out, evaluating which use cases we want to lead with, and because some of them are low-hanging fruits, whether it's registration or signing up for financial aid or filling up some dumb paperwork that you don't have to fill in all the time. You can use the AI for that very easily. So, things like that we are going to tackle. And then as we get more and more confidence, we will start entering into more deeper release cycle. Release is misspelled here, sorry. So, we have our release date is our goal. Our GA release date will be 8/1/24. We are going to release it for alpha for beta customers as soon as February 1st, and then we'll be in different trade shows, presenting, demonstrating, and a few other things as well. So I know we are at the top of the hour. I want to leave, I don't know, 1 minute to for additional questions, but I can stay on for the next half hour if you guys are available. But first of all, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate all the great questions and excitement here. I'll stay on to answer any additional questions. Does anybody have any additional questions or any feedback? Do you think we are drinking the Kool-Aid or getting too excited, or are we on the right track? Beth Kenny had a great question. Are you storing? Yeah, we're
Tim
connecting
answered,
to the SIS, but yeah, so Tim already answered it.
Mhm.
Great.
Yeah, so
Thanks,
I'll
Eric.
just speak to that one real quick. No, so the university data is only used to train that university's AI models, and it's held within their own S3 bucket securely. And the only other thing that the university SIS data for also held on their own institution's infrastructure is the caching of the login, which will speed up the UI interface, holds things like courses they passed, their grades and everything, so it doesn't have to go out to the database every time somebody queries something of that nature or requests something of that nature. So the quick answer is no. The more in-depth one I put in the chat there as well.
Yeah, Alex had a great question. Who owns the university model once it's created? It's going to be a multi-tenant SaaS platform. End-to-end will still manage it for the university, but university will have access to the models. But the models themselves, the LLMs themselves, will be owned by end-to-end, but universities will be able to configure them, customize them, but end-to-end will be managing them because, this is a very, very fluid space. We are talking about, ChatGPT is already about to release their GPT-5. I don't even know what to expect there. My son keeps talking about this RGI or artificial general AGI, artificial general intelligence, where the myth behind that is it will be able to make decisions just like a human can, and just by looking at something and go from there. But yes, we will maintain it for you. It's going to be a subscription platform. Oh, Chin,
There's one more
that's a great
question.
question. LightleapAI is end-to-end's new product. We own this product. This is our, we wanted to kind of have a real delineation between end-to-end's current product stack and make sure that the LightleapAI is a different product line, but it is a new product line offered by end-to-end. We own the IP. This is our, just like Illuminate, end-to-end LightleapAI is a new product line offered by end-to-end.
So, Kiran, this is Joel. I think it's also worth saying that that it does leverage the APIs that reach into the SIS platform. There have been a couple of questions around that. Tim answered some, but what it does is it builds on what's already there. It builds on the ability to reach in and grab personalized information for each student, but yet to segregate that information so that the student is dealing with the student's own information or someone that has been authorized to do that.
Thanks, Joel. Appreciate it. That's Joel Dunn, everybody. He was our ex-CISO, but he's our resident AI engagement manager. We didn't get a chance to dig deeper into the beta program. We'll send details around this after as a follow-up. But as part of the beta program, the partners that will join it will have access to the brain of end-to-end with, and also they'll be able to commit requirements and recommend changes, recommend enhancements to the product line. So Joel will be leading that customer advisory group along with a couple other people from end-to-end. If you haven't worked with Joel before, he's our resident CISO. He played many hats. He wore many hats for end-to-end, and now he's our designated AI engagement manager as well.
Jin's also asking how many partners we have right now.
We are right now at least 3 beta partners that are in pretty active discussions. We do not have anybody firmly committed yet. We have shared subscription agreements with at least 3 institutions. We also shared subscription agreements with a couple other partners as well. We feel confident that we'll at least have 3 beta partners. The way we're thinking about the beta program is we want to have like a private institution, one private institution, one public public nonprofit institution, and also one community college as well, and hopefully one consortia as well. But right now we are still in active discussion, and we're definitely have plenty of space available for additional beta partners. Any other questions, feedback, Matt? Any thoughts or ideas?
I think it's exciting. Looks great. Looking forward to doing the conversation.
Awesome. Cool. Well, if nobody has any other questions, we will we'll end this meeting. We'll keep our conversation lines open. Feel free to email me or Rohan for any additional deep dive, any additional technical questions. We really appreciate all your time, and I cannot thank you enough for spending your 1 hour with us. I look forward to working with all of you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.